Hello and welcome to a video with me, Raindale. And today we'll be taking a look at some of my class matches from from yesterday, I guess. I'm recording this on Wednesday, the first day of the season, and I've been running some funny team with the new vision card abilities. It kind of makes me want to try different stuff. So this time I'm running a team composed of Lasswell, Viktora, and Halloween Little Leela. And I thought it would be interesting to give you my two most noteworthy matches and comment on them. So perhaps if you're trying out class matches this season, you can learn a thing or two from my mistakes. Let's begin by taking a look at the team comp that I'm running. And I really like the team I've put together. I think it's fairly strong, but there are so many strong things right now that it's kind of a question of matchup as well. So we're running Lasswell, Viktora, and Halloween Little Leela in an evasion setup. So I guess let's take a look at Lasswell first. Obviously, Tetrasulfide for evasion, the Earth Vision card for evasion as well. And then I'm running Yerma's TMR because it grants accuracy on activation, so I find fighting another evasion team, I want to be sure that this buff allows me to hit them reliably. We're running a ribbon for evasion. It would be better to run another Sage Hat, but I only have one build, so that comes into account here. And then we are running Dragoon. Even though Samurai would give us access to an evasion buff, which would be a lot stronger, the Dragoon Standard that gives move and jump +1 allows me to get a Crystal on Lasswell's first turn, and that's, in my thought, is very important towards being able to win because he doesn't have bells. And then we're running a bit more evasion here and defense penetration, so he can hit just about anyone decently hard. Then the resistances, I guess, are pretty low. We try to mitigate the magic weakness because there's a lot of mages going into the class matches this season, but honestly, as you'll tell, he's not that tanky against magic even with this taken into account. Then we have Viktora. Again, we're speccing her for evasion as much as we can. She has Odin for more damage, and Fenrir because the new Fenrir card, I guess Fenrir card with its new ability, also gives 50% more attack to ice units, so that makes it my best option in terms of attack, even above Dwayne's TMR, which would give less magic resistance and less attack now to those ice units. So that's why we're running Fenrir here. And Shiva's ability is a little bit more disappointing, but we have less chance to get crit ourselves, so I guess that's not the end of the world. This one we don't benefit from. It's Earth attack resistance for Earth units, and we don't have an Earth unit on this team. So what about Viktora? Well, she's a thief, which means that she has access to Shadowcast, and with that, her evasion becomes super high, actually higher than Lasswell's total evasion in this build. And it also gives her access to a guaranteed hit ability with sneak attack, whereas if you hit from behind, it is not only a guaranteed crit, it's also a guaranteed hit. So that's something that everybody knows, but it's a pretty useful tool when you're fighting possible evasion teams. She has super high attack with this build and a lot of ice attack, so she hits super hard, but she's pretty squishy, especially if you take into account the amount of magic teams we might be facing. And then last, we have Halloween Little Leela, who's honestly just very strong in general. We're running her with move 4 jump 2, and I think in this map you want at least jump 2 because of the way the map is built. You need to be able to go around the obstacles in the middle, so that means that units that can get to this amount of move and jump are a lot more efficient. And she's built for evasion. We have Mashari's TMR for a possible barrier, that's pretty important. And then we're running White Mage, really, for the possibility to cast Full Life, which is such an impactful ability in any game mode, really. So that's what the team comp looks like. I don't want to go too long on this. I just want to get into battle and show you how the matches go. Alright, so for this match, we're fighting a Platinum player, so one that probably has a little bit less experience in the live PvP scene, but I thought he was running an interesting build because he's running Garvall, Sakura, and Phoebe with evasion gear. So it's a pretty funky build and it's pretty interesting. His evasion aspect though won't come in as handy as you might think because we have a team that has quite a bit of accuracy in it. Lasswell has summoned accuracy, And then we're running a luck card, which increases our chance to hit them, and we have a TMR on Lasswell that, in worst case scenario, could allow us to get a ton more accuracy. That's the main reason we're running that on him. So what their game plan is, quite likely, is to take us out from a long range before we can get to attack them. None of them are especially tanky, except for Garvall, so he'll kind of serve as their front line. On our end, our team is built to be able to take one hit before going down. So we need to settle things within the delay it takes them to hit us twice, or we need Halloween Little Leela to be able to heal in the meantime. And the reason why we can take 2 hits is thanks to Mashari's TMR. It's an incredibly powerful tool because it gives us a barrier that's going to reduce damage by 30% for 3 times, no matter if it's a physical or a magical attack. Our first turn on Lasswell is going to take this crystal here. We do not have Mirage during this first turn, but I'm rather confident that they cannot get to me and hit me in the meantime. So that's why I'm willing to take the risk to move forward like this. This crystal is super critical to our victory because it's the only way to be able to use most of Lasswell's abilities since he doesn't have bells. And especially when fighting an enemy team that's made mainly of mages, they have all their AP right from the beginning, and we need to build ours. So that's an innate disadvantage that physical attackers have over mages. The delay before they can use their full power. So Viktora begins, she has her evasion buff, her barrier, and bells, so she's at pretty much full power there. During this time, the enemy's building their own defense against our attacks. But in all honesty, a Sakura with less than 4000 HP will not survive a hit from Lasswell, for example, just because of how hard he can hit. And then my plan here is to be able to do the first attack, or ensure that if he attacks me, he gets into a position where he can't get out, and I can immediately take one of his guys out. I don't want to move Halloween Little Leela forward too early, because she's our safety net. If one of our guys dies, she's able to bring them back to life. And that's very important in our game plan. I do not intend to use her as an attacker in this team unless she's able to take out an enemy member immediately. As you probably could tell from our setup, she doesn't have that much magic. She's really not built to kill as much as she is built to support and have a ton of mobility. And the main reason why I don't want her to attack is because I frequently make mistakes where I overextend and attack too early, especially with my healer and support. And though that might put me at an advantage sometimes, it also means that I often lose the access to full life before I use the skill. And full life has so much value in this game because not only do you bring somebody back to life and allow them to keep fighting, but this person, in order for the enemy team to kill him the first time, they have to use a lot of resources. So you're also taking away some of the enemy's resources, and casting full life doesn't cost much for us. So at that point, I'm considering going to attack, but I'm afraid that Phoebe is casting Quicken, and that if I attack, Garvall's going to take a turn immediately, followed by Sakura. And that would mean that Viktora would die. Afterwards, though, I realized that she was casting Protect and that I could have moved forward. But either way, they would have ended up both playing and killing her, so it was much wiser to stay back. Now, they're probably trying to execute their own game plan of coming to hit us, but we have spaced our target in a nice way. If Garvall is to hit Viktora, he's the one that's getting into the range of all of our units. Otherwise, he can hit Lasswell, but Lasswell has his barrier, so even if he hits him with his guaranteed hit attack, he's not going to do any damage yet. So we're kind of keeping the safe zone, where all our guys are in a position where we are very comfortable. So he's wondering whether he should attack me or not, and he decides to do it. Interestingly enough, with his limit break, I didn't play Garvall much, but I think this decision here is coming from the height range. He probably could not hit me with many other abilities. Otherwise, it seems like kind of a waste to use such a strong ability just to proc Mirage from our Lasswell. So they're buffing their offense, they want to be able to take us out, and at that point I'm wondering, do I attack with Viktora and take a third of Garvall's HP, or do I make sure that she survives a little bit longer? And what I decide to do is not attack immediately, but rather stay a little bit farther behind, because in the previous position, Sakura could have hit me without really moving forward. Here though, she kind of has to overextend a little bit if she wants to hit Viktora, and that will put her in Lasswell's range, which isn't necessarily true if she stays behind. So, I try to hit Phoebe, and I realize that I can't. The height difference doesn't allow me to do it. And that's a pretty huge deal, because my whole plan at that point was to kill her. And I realized that I don't know this map well enough yet. It's the first day where it's available. So instead, I default to hitting Garvall, mainly because it allows me to be in the air during Sakura's turn. So instead of giving her the option to hit Lasswell, she has to move forward and hit Viktora. And like we said a bit earlier, that's my plan. I want her to be able to hit... I want her to move forward and put herself in danger. Now, I'm pretty unlucky because Rebel Intention lands. That means that now Viktora's in range of getting killed. I thought that with the Shadowcast buff, the only thing that would be able to take her out would be the guaranteed hit abilities. And she was just out of range of that. But hey, I guess I was either unlucky or didn't calculate the enemy's hit rate well enough. I have to say though, they are also running evasion gear, so they have luck in their gear as well. So they also mitigate a large portion of our evasion. What is good though is that Viktora was in a position where she can easily be healed. As you can tell, she's a little bit backwards in the inner team, so that Halloween Leela can reach her easily and without getting in everyone from the enemy team's range. So she does move forward, and if you look at the turn order, I know that Sakura is going to get one more turn. That's even more so now that she got quickened. But she gets a turn, and then Lasswell goes. So at that point, if she does not kill Lasswell and stays in this position, Lasswell is going to kill her, and possibly Garvall as well, because he's got all his buffs, he's ready to attack. We also have time to finish casting, so everybody's back up, and the enemy kind of played their cards. Everything their cards are on the table, the dice are set, and we can attack them now. We are, I think, it's part luck that we kill the enemy before they finish casting. If I was them though, I would have looked at the turn order and seen if I could finish my spell before the enemy Lasswell plays, and I think that's a mistake on their part to get in Lasswell's range with a spell that is not finished yet, because in my perspective at least, it was clear that Sakura would die if Lasswell got a turn next to her. So at that point, with everybody back alive, it's just a formality to close out the game. So I think I'll stop the recording there. You can tell that we'll just hunt Phoebe and kill her rather easily, and even if she casts full life, which she does, we're in a position to easily kill whoever comes back. So let's look at the second match now. Alright, so for this one, we're walking into a match that I lose, and I'm going to tell you ahead of time, because I think the way the match goes is pretty interesting. If you, I'll be pointing towards some mistakes that I make that I think are critical to me losing the match. It is pretty close, and the main reason why it ends up being a loss is because of some positioning mistakes that I make that were honestly completely unnecessary. So I think it's pretty interesting to cover those. So I'm doing the same intro as I've done on the other match. So we're getting bells on for Viktora, And then the idea is we're going to give her the physical and magical barrier and move forward with evasion buffs as much as we can. Now, I'm looking at the enemy team, and I can tell that they're pretty tanky overall. They have a ton of defense and pretty decent slash resist on just about everybody. So that's rather scary. Also, whenever I'm fighting a Chel, I kind of get the feeling that my opponent's an experienced Quickener, because she's a unit with a rather unique Quicken pattern, where she can cast the spell in one tick less than other units. So lots of the players that have experience with her are typically have practiced their team comp and know when the Quicken's gonna proc. So they also have Sentinel, so a Paladin Winter Viktora, which means for our carries that are mainly physical, it's going to be pretty tough to take her out. That's also going to play a pretty big role because, as I mentioned in the previous match, I try not to use Halloween Little Leela as an attacker in these teams. Her main role is as a healer from the back line, so that means we're kind of forced to use physical attacks, and we did not bring anyone that can break barriers on our team this time around. So Lasswell uses his Mirage this time, and the main reason why I switched the pattern here was because I felt like he could get attacked by range. So if I were to move and get a crystal the same way I did in the previous match, he would be he would be in danger of dying immediately, because they would be able to break barrier and attack us with Winter Viktora. That's something that she has that's pretty strong, is the ability to use Barrier Break Arrow, and that breaks barrier and then deals damage, which means that against Lasswell, it removes his Mirage and then hits him for some damage nonetheless. So it's a threatening matchup, honestly. So at that point, my enemy is getting into position, ready to cast a Quicken, or at least that's what I'm expecting when I see a Chel lining up 3 squares behind anybody, really. And that's a giveaway. A lot of buffs in this game vary between 3 and 4 squares. Quicken is one of the 3 square buffs, so often when an enemy standing there within 3 squares of one of their allies, I figure that that's probably what they're casting. So at that point, their Winter Venera is getting into position to attack, and one thing I want to point out about this map is that with the higher ground in the middle, you get a lot of extra range on your attacks if you're a bow user, and that makes them more interesting to use. Honestly, I have been surprised by how far they could hit. Unless their Winter Viktora is running range up passives, that hit here was at a pretty long range. It's pretty impressive. Now it did miss on Viktora, but it hit Lasswell, so that took off our Mirage and we're forced to cast it again. Honestly, not the end of the world, considering that she could have hit us and dealt damage at the same time if she used a single target ability. But it is a shame that they hit us, because that could have also been a miss, and then that would have definitely helped us. And I do want to point out now that they've missed us once. And we're going to count the amounts of times they miss us, because we're running maxed out evasion here. But when I was looking at their stats, I noticed that they were built with accuracy, so they had some accuracy up. Now, I'm not sure what accuracy piece that is, because we can't take a look at the character's equipment, but knowing that they run accuracy means that they were probably expecting some evasion matchups, and that they have something for that. So he hits us from the front. That's pretty impressive. I'm not sure what his chances to hit us were there, but if he chose to take the bet that he would hit from the front, it was probably pretty high. Now, he did make a mistake, though, I think, in his positioning of Chel, because by moving forward for a quicken play here, he's going to lose her. And I don't think that losing her was necessary here for him. Like, if he had just decided to wait a while longer, Kain would have not taken that extra turn, but it wasn't that impactful of an extra turn. But here, in return, I make a terrible mistake, and it's the one mistake that's going to cost me the game. I move Halloween Little Leela forward, and at that point in the game, she doesn't have a reason to move forward. I could have kept her to the right, and she would have been out of range from Winter Viktora and still in range to move and heal. So I moved her forward because I was thinking like, oh, she'll be in range to attack eventually. But honestly, that was not necessary. It did not give us any benefit in terms of what's coming for the game. So we do kill Chel, but now my Halloween Little Leela is in danger. And then Lasswell did get hit, his Mirage is out, but the slow did not land from Kain, probably due to this map's resistances. I'm not 100% sure that the slow resistance is part of them, but I do think that it is. So at that point, we are in a bit of trouble. We took one hit from Winter Viktora, and she is fast enough to get another turn before Halloween Little Leela. That is a pretty big deal because she's going to be able to hit us again and possibly take her out. And the second our healer goes out is the second where us fighting a team of tankier targets with the paladin job will take a turn for the worst. I would have been very happy with the matchup, taking out Chel and then just healing our guys back as we slowly whittle them down. But as it stands, if our healer dies, we don't really have a way of fighting. You can tell how little damage we're doing to them because they're so tanky. So it's not looking good. It might not seem so because our characters are still full HP now, but I think you've all experienced the damage that a Kain with a powerful with 1,000 points of attack can do. He basically destroys just about anyone. So we're hitting their Winter Viktora pretty hard. She's about to go down, but as you could probably tell, there was no way for me to kill her in this instance. I did not have an attack that dealt enough damage for that. If I did, no trouble. Moving Halloween Little Leela in her position would not be the end of the world. But as it stands, she's in range from Winter Viktora, and she can take an attack. And then, even worse, that attack's enough to kill her, so their Kain doesn't even need to attack. And that's where I say that my moving her here was a terrible mistake, because I've allowed her to take 2 hits, and this position would have allowed her to take a hit from Kain as well. So even if Winter Viktora did not go twice, Halloween Little Leela would have died for no reason because of Kain's attack. Now Kain takes out Lasswell in 1 hit, now that he's broken our barrier. So at that point, it's going to be a one-on-one between Viktora and Kain. And as I'm sure you can guess, Kain can probably kill us in 1 hit, and we can't kill him in 1 hit. So it's not a good matchup. At that point, I'm wondering what to do, and what's going to happen I don't think is super interesting, so I'll just narrate it and save you the next couple of minutes of just looking back and forth. So what I tried to do is go for a last turn win, where when the actions left are near 0, I will close in on Kain and hit him once, so that I win with a higher HP percentage. But what's actually going to happen is I'll hit him, and then he will have 1 more turn before closing out the game, and he's going to hit me and take a crystal and win. So poor planning on my part, not taking the crystal into account. So yeah, we're gonna stop that video here. Alright, I hope you guys found this interesting. I really love doing class matches in general and then recording them. These matches are not super low level. I'm in promotions for Diamond Master, so not low, not super high either. I'm not in the top, say, 50 players in the game at this game mode, but I still feel like I have some interesting insight to share. So hopefully you enjoyed this content. If you did, please like and subscribe. It will make it more likely that you see my videos in the future. And then as always, thanks so much for your time, and have a great rest of your day.